The murder rate in Wilmington is coming down. And the city's police chief, Bobby Cummings, is here to talk about it. This is the Delaware Way. The crime rate in Wilmington, the murder rate specifically, is down for this year, and that's good news not only for the city of Wilmington, but for the Wilmington Police Force and the man I'm about to introduce you to, Chief Bobby Cummings. Sir, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming in today.
Thank you, Larry. Nice to be back.
It is down. What are the numbers so far?
To date, right now, we have 5 homicides compared to about 8 last year. And out of those 5, we have 3 that have been cleared, 1 exceptional, 2 with arrests, and then the other 2 we have very good information that the community has been helping us on to get these matters solved.
The crime rate down for this year, does that mean a lot at this point, or can that easily just change?
Well, obviously, you know, as we do our work, things can change from day to day, hour to hour. But it is a good thing right now, even this time of year. Some people want to blame it on the weather, that, you know, that's why our numbers are down. But what we did, we made an adjustment in our deployment with Disrupt, and we have them out in the community, and they're engaging the residents in a positive manner, and they're also addressing those individuals that are out on the street corners that may be the potential problem. Explain
what Disrupt is. Just so I can take a guess at it, it's hotspot policing, right?
Yes, through our TAPS deployment, we identify areas within the city. Again, we identify it as hotspots or targeted areas where we generally have issues. And we send those officers out into those areas to impact what's happening in that neighborhood, again, from a positive perspective. And they're also dealing with the individuals who hang out on the corners. And they're stopping residents who come through that we know generally do not live in the area or are just congregating.
There's no question, in my mind at least, that the policing has improved in Wilmington over the last couple of years. There's no question. When that's not shown in the statistics, it is now, it wasn't last year. When that's not shown in the statistics, that must be frustrating.
It's frustrating when that's the only thing that's being measured and gauged, because there's a lot of things that happen in the community through our police work where, again, we're talking about building trust and we're talking about building legitimacy again. And those things help you impact the numbers.
There was a time, a couple of week period, where the Disrupt wasn't being funded, where, if that's what you called it then, but the extra policing wasn't being funded from the state. And during that time, there was a spike in murders. Was there a direct reaction? Was that a direct reaction from the city to not getting enough money from the state?
No, actually, we really need to clear it up,
okay.
Have something clear. Disrupt was never an impact on funding. It was, we did Disrupt from breaking down a lot of our other units within the police department that were specialized. So we took all those officers out of those specialized units and we built what then was called Operation Disrupt. So that was not an overtime or funding issue. That was, again, breaking down other areas of the police department which were disrupted. Now, during that same time period, there was money that was brought in through the Attorney General's office to do a walking assignment. So those 2 things were happening at the same time.
Okay.
So then the funding ran out for the walking assignments, and a lot of people believe that as a direct correlation to that, because those officers were no longer walking in the neighborhood, the crime started to have an uptick. But again, it was not because of Disrupt. We had an academy class that was coming out during that same time period. So we had over 35 new officers that were on the street. And we thought that the presence, just from getting those officers out, would help fill the void. But it didn't, because we have new officers that were engaging on the street. The walking assignment funding did go away. So that may have had some correlation to what took place after that, because we were going into the summertime.
You know what it seemed like, though?
Oh, absolutely.
It seemed like you didn't get your funding, and so, okay, we're not going to send some police officers out in these streets. That's what it seemed like. It seemed like it was a reaction. And even the mayor said weeks later that was a mistake. What was the mistake?
The mistake was that when we had Disrupt and we took them out of the different units, once the academy class graduated, we put the officers back into the areas of the police department that was hurt during the time period. We pulled them away. So not only do we have to operate on the street, we had other components within the police department that still need to run on a daily basis. So we put those officers back in those areas because we had the new officers out on the street. But obviously, we felt the impact of that when we did it.
You say you felt the impact of it, so you believe that the spike in murders was directly correlated to that decision?
I don't believe that. I believe that the spike in crime occurred because it was during the summertime. The officers that we had on the street were fairly new and trying to build relationships. We could not sustain what we had done earlier on, and we knew that was going to be an impact, that it was not sustainable. And that was one of the things that was brought out when the Governor's Commission came in terms of the public safety report. We said it was not sustainable. They said it was not sustainable. We got to the point where it proved itself out during the summertime months. And,
okay.
then we did go back to it a little bit later, pulling officers again around September to address some of the issues where the spike then started to go back down.
So I want to jump to the first time you were on the show.
Yes.
And you sat there and we talked about a homicide unit. And if you
Yes.
remember, I was stunned that you didn't have one.
Yes.
Because we were talking about this homicide rate, and I couldn't believe that a city your size, it's the biggest city in Delaware, didn't have a homicide unit.
Yes.
That's changed.
It has, yes.
And there's been some success because of that.
It has.
Do you think you can make a direct correlation to this success? I mean, it's going up exponentially from where your success rate in making arrests on these murders to where it is now.
So in 2015, we had 28 homicides. And previous years, we were right around that same number, 28, 29 homicides. But those previous years, we were in the area of a 12% closure rate. When we were in 2015...
Which is well below the national average.
Yes, yes. So once we were able to develop the homicide unit, and their focus was, again, directly related to addressing homicide issues, our homicide rate was able to, we increased that closure rate. Not only did we increase the rate for the homicides that occurred in 15, we were able to go back to previous years and clear out some of those through the cold case unit. So by having the homicide unit and the training that was provided to them, and then also building a relationship with the community, or making it a little bit stronger. And I'm not saying by any means that it's done. We have a long way to go yet still. But because we were able to bring in some information from the Crime Commission report, the VRN, the Violent Reduction Network, and pull these things together, where we went and visited other cities to see how they dealt with homicides and their protocol, we were able to make an impact in our city.
What is the closure rate now?
Right now, if we're looking at last year numbers,
okay.
we're talking about we were over 50%.
From 12%?
Yes, from 12%.
That's great. When we come back, I want to talk about I want to get an update on the show, Murder Town, if you know anything about that. We need to talk about the Bam McDowell case as much as you're able to talk about it. And I want to talk about the Governor's Commission when we continue our conversation with Chief Bobby Cummings on the Delaware Way.